So dividend investing is honestly my favorite way to go about investing in the stock market. Now, there's of course pros and cons to going that route, but to each person their own, honestly, at the end of the day, because I know there's a lot of growth investors out there that don't really like dividends because they feel like it's a holdback. But honestly, I see dividends as a way for me to really get excited about investing, which is honestly really important because I found out for myself that if I'm talking about it, if I'm sharing with other people, if I'm posting videos about it, I tend to want to invest a lot more. And that's always a good thing, right? Because the more I'm investing, the more dividends I can get paid out and the more my growth on my money. So I started this kind of journey of sharing what I'm doing on YouTube with my investments, not just from other things that I do, because I do a lot of stuff on the channel, but overall, I love talking about dividends and sharing that journey. So I think it was back in like May or June of last year, I started posting some videos about using M1 Finance, which is what I love to use when it comes to dividend investing. And I went through the process of just kind of starting off really small. I had about $100 or so invested, and then every week I was putting a little bit more here and there, and then just kind of going through the process of actually having this money work for me instead of just sitting around doing nothing. And over that course of time, I started increasing the amount of money I was putting in every single week. And then that way it started growing. I started building up more stocks in my portfolio. But then I also quickly learned too that having too many stocks was also hurting me in the long run as well, because that meant less money going to the ones that I felt were going to help me out the most. Now, we'll jump into my portfolio here so you guys can see some of the stocks I currently have and what I'm kind of doing with them. But like my goal, honestly, with dividend investing is to have money in the next 10 plus years that I could just use for whatever I want. Anything I need or want to spend money on. It's not necessarily a need for me to have this money available for me as far as income, but it's just something that I want to have. I want to have multiple sources of income. So we're going to jump here on my portfolio. So you can see here, I have it called Dividend Dentist because I do love dividends. And right now I'm sitting at 4,204. I think the last time I did my monthly dividend income, which I do on a monthly basis, usually at the start of the following month, I'll kind of share with you guys how much I made in dividends across the board. I think I was like at 30 something hundred. So I've definitely been putting in a lot more. And again, this comes because of time and effort in having myself, be investing in the market. So I'm feeling more comfortable and, willing to put more money into this. So pretty excited about it. If I go to the day, right now, I'm actually up 1.77%, up $73. Now, this is, by the way, if you're a little bit familiar with M1 Finance, this is money weighted return, which means that this is all the money I've ever gained on M1 Finance, whether I've sold some for profit or sold some from loss. Can get a little confusing for some people because with the economy the way it is right now, I'm actually technically up 14.77%. Which is $120. And this was recording of, that's starting value, but this is recording on the May 14th. So this I think is going to come out on the 16th for me as far as the actual video goes. But that is a nice gain, especially with the market is the way it is. But a lot of people might be confused by that because my actual gains and losses currently is down 1.16%, but that's only on the things I haven't sold and is just sitting in the account. Where this, I actually sold some stocks for a profit during this time because I saw the opportunity to sell out of those and buy into something else that I wanted to hold on to a little bit more long term. So that's kind of the route that I ended up deciding to take. And I'm going to show you guys here too why, getting started with dividend investing can be a great thing. For myself personally, I just love getting dividends coming in. So I'm going to go into the little dividend section over here. And you're going to see here, and I go over this every single month, but this is obviously just mid-month right now. But you can see here, like on May 8th, I got paid out from two companies, relatively small amounts. But if we go up to the 1st of May, from AT&T and Verizon, I got paid out $1.73 from AT&T and then 53 cents from Verizon. So that got me excited because now I'm sitting here looking at these, income pieces that are coming in and saying, hey, that was money I got for not doing literally anything with these companies. Like they just paid me for having ownership in these stocks. So I got excited to want to say, hey, I want to put more money into either these companies or my portfolio across the board. Now, of course, there's ways that you have to make decisions on which companies to have. But honestly, looking at these dividends and seeing them coming in, to me, they're like paychecks, getting money for, being able to take that risk of having it inside of the market and believing in these companies that I have my money in. And I'll show you here too, when I was talking about actually investing, let's go ahead and look at the deposits here. So I just recently did, I don't know why I did it 3 times, but if you go through here, you're going to see there's so many more deposits that are happening versus if I switch this over, this is the beginning. So I started January 23rd, 2019 with $100. It actually took me about a month and a half to actually start even adding more money on top of that. So I started putting in like $20 here, $20 there, stopped for a little bit, tested out, a little bit more of the app, trying to get some ideas, do I want to do this? Is this the path I want to take? And then, starting in May, like I said, the 25th, I put another 20, or not May, sorry, right here, May 28th, I put it $10 in. And then from there, I was doing $10 a week, which $10 a week is not a lot of money, and it's not going to get you very far when it comes to investing. But what it is going to do for you if you are a dividend investor or somebody that wants to get into this market is understanding that you are gaining experience with this money, right? Putting in $10 a week, $10 a day, whatever you're trying to do or can do is going to help you get to that next level of understanding the market, understanding lingo. If you hear myself or other YouTubers talking about certain things, maybe you don't understand them, but if you keep paying attention, if you are involved with this kind of stuff, you're going to see things really happen for you and actually start learning it and understanding it. So if I scroll down, then every once in a while I had a little extra money that I would toss in, but I think starting in August, I was bumping it up to $20 a week. So we were going to $20 a week, which is really nice. Had a nice little deposit there, and then I believe it was December timeframe, I started bumping it up to $30 a week, and then beginning of January, or like mid-January, end of January, before everything went crazy with the market, I was bumping it up to $40 a week. But because of the way the market was going and how I was experienced with understanding what I was trying to accomplish and what I was invested in, I started really putting down a lot more. I think if I go to funding history, all of 2019, which was pretty much starting in early January with that $100, I put in $1,060 into my overall account. And by this time in 2020, we're only 4.5 months in, I should say, and I already put in almost $3,000 into this portfolio. So I've put in quite a bit more than in 2019 already, which is going to equal out more dividends, more growth, more income for me long term. And then also too, I'm getting even more excited to be able to see this account grow, because in case you don't know, compound interest is a real thing. So the more money I'm getting to be able to reinvest, the faster this is going to grow too. So this is why I really like dividend investing, because if I go all the way back here, going into dividends, and then let's go ahead and go for the first one. So on March 14th, 2019, I got paid out 2 cents from Microsoft. So before M1 Finance, I actually did invest in different accounts with different brokerages and utilized them for a while. And then I stopped investing for a short time because my wife and I were actually building up our businesses, mine and hers included. So we did 2 businesses. And so we were investing in those businesses instead of investing in the market, which actually worked out for us really well because we were able to put our focuses on those and have those generating income for us. And now we're able to focus in on the market, which for us right now, because of the way the market dropped, it actually kind of worked out in our favor. But story aside, this dividend income right over here from Microsoft kind of got me back in the itch of wanting to invest. So I got 2 cents for essentially doing nothing else but holding on to this portfolio. And then right over here, you can see on March 26th, I got paid out another 64 cents from a ETF called VOO. And then again, from Microsoft, another 3 cents. So I actually even gained another penny in dividends for doing pretty much nothing else except for a little bit of a deposit. And so that kind of got me really excited to really start focusing in on dividends again and kind of, getting a better understanding. So educating myself more, which is always important, whether you're watching these videos or others. And then also too, being surrounded by other people that are excited about this stuff. So I have a couple other, YouTubers that I talk to on a regular basis about this stuff, as well as, have like a Facebook group that I have where I share my insights and my thoughts, and I have other people do the same thing, which, by the way, if you want to join us, I'll have a link in the description box. And then what we do is we just share our excitement for this stuff, and it gets me just to want to keep on investing more and more. So if you're like a dividend investor and you're trying to figure out if this is the route you want to take, even if you change your mind later and become something else of a type of an investor, whether it's growth or, Bitcoin, I don't know, something else, if dividend investing gets you started with investing in general, that's totally fine too. I'm excited for it. I know there's a couple other great YouTubers on the platform that are really focusing on dividends, and it is a great source of income for them too. So I think it's a honestly a fantastic way to go about, investing your money and having it work for you versus you paying interest and having to work for it, which is always my biggest thing. So if I am going to go here, which again, this is my M1 Finance portfolio. So if you guys are actually interested in using M1 Finance, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the show notes. You guys can actually check it out, utilize it, test it out. Honestly, it might be the right app for you. Maybe it won't be. I have tons of tutorials here on my channel that you guys can check out to kind of see. So this is my current pie right now. So this is what's really cool with M1. I can see my overall performance in the 5-year time period as like a example. So this is total returns based on initial deposit of $100. Actually, it doesn't say total return. I lied. So right over here, you can see that if I invested $100, what was that? June 6th. So it's like a month out. So June 6th and until now, even with the drop in the market the way it did, I would still be up $55 and some change. So I'd be up 52.62% on my money for investing in what I already currently have in my portfolio, which is such a cool way to be able to look at stuff. I can do a 3-year time period. I could do a year. I could do a quarter. I could do a month. And then I could even go to like a week as well. So I can see if I invested this $100 and back in May 7th, it would drop down all the way down to $97. But that is just, short time period. We're in it for the long term. If you're a dividend investor, you're really in it for the long term. But here's the cool thing too. So it shows that I have 35 holdings in my portfolio. One big mistake I mentioned earlier was that I invested a lot of money into multiple stocks altogether. So I had about 55 different stocks in my portfolio, and the thing with that was when I was investing with so many different companies, small amounts were going into each one, so it wasn't really building up a great portfolio. So I was selling out. I even think 35 might be a little much for me, but it's so hard to get rid of these great companies. And then you can see here my current yield is 3.12%. Ideally, if you can get to like 3.5 to 4%, that would be really nice as far as being able to have an income. And for me, like I said, I want to have this income when I'm around 40 to 45 years old. So in about 10 years, give or take. And then my expense ratio is 0.01, and that's only because I have Vanguard in my portfolio. So that one is the only one that is actually costing me a little bit of money to have in there, but it's not necessarily out of pocket. It's kind of on the back end. I can also even click into each pie individually, which is really cool. And I can see like my tech pie is at 3.631% dividend yield. So out of the 6 stocks I have, I'm getting a average of that 3.63%. I have AT&T in there, so that's kind of boosting it up quite a bit with where it is right now. But those are some of the things I can pay attention to when it comes to my dividends. Obviously, doing the research for them and trying to understand which ones I want to invest in, that took a lot of work and effort. Like I said, I watched other people. I read a lot of stuff. I went to websites to get an understanding of, what's valuable for me. Here on M1 Finance, you can go to the stock section. You can pick dividend yields, how much dividends you want to have. You can say I want a minimum of 2.5% dividend and a max of, let's say, like 5%, and it'll show you all the companies within that range. So you can do that with a filter. There's other websites as well. One thing for me personally, if you are just getting started with dividends, is keep in mind for the higher dividends. I think anything over 5% you want to be very cautious with, just because it is very attractive to get something so high as far as a return on your money. But there's a risk for those companies not paying out the dividend anymore, or cutting it pretty severely, and or the stock maybe doesn't do well long term, because there's like a balance to it all together, to be honest, where I don't want to have a stock that pays a good dividend if the actual stock itself is not moving up at a relatively good rate. I don't need it to be skyrocketing like something like Tesla or some of these other really high growth companies, but I do want to have some steady growth on there as well. So I don't want to see like a flat line or like a consistent decline in there. I've made some of those mistakes before too, so the biggest thing about getting started with, $5, $10, $20 a week or a month or whatever you can do is when you're starting small, you make those mistakes in small quantities versus, finally deciding to get started and having thousands of dollars and making those big mistakes. They're going to get really big too. So just something to think about when it comes to getting started. Like I said, I love dividends, and my biggest focus with dividends was the fact that I want to have an income coming in. So when I was making those mistakes, I really wanted to take into consideration, what is it that I was was doing wrong and how can I do better so when I have more money like I do now, I'm not making those mistakes. Because if I started off with 4 grand in this portfolio day one, I definitely would have made mistakes that I wish I wouldn't have. So starting off with that $100 and then kind of moving up from there was really, really nice. And that was definitely the way I like to go. And, obviously no recommendations personally, but just always consider that if you start off smaller, you can start making those mistakes earlier and then start fixing out the style of investing that you want to do, because maybe you find out that dividend investing isn't the way you want to go. And that's totally cool too. Maybe you want to be a growth investor or really aggressive investor and you want to be investing in things like Tesla, Amazon, Google, Facebook, things that don't pay out dividends but have really good opportunities for you to gain so much on your own money. So who knows? It all depends on you, but I think getting started is the biggest thing about it, because if you don't get started, you're not going to go anywhere really quickly. So, even if it's a small amount, I'm never one to judge anybody when it comes to their amount that they have in their investments and how much they can do. It's just all a matter of how you can really grow your money over time and learn as you go as well. Now, as I mentioned, I use M1 Finance when it comes to getting started with dividend investing. I'll have that link in the show notes like I mentioned earlier. But if you want to learn those tutorials, I'll have my videos right over here. So definitely check them out and they will really help you out when it comes to getting started on that platform. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in that next video.